this is not a prepared statement. I would call this an apology for agnosticism. The great philosopher Alfred North Whitehead famously said that Western philosophy, these are not his exact words, but this is a paraphrase. Western philosophy is footnotes to Plato. Plato, as we know, wrote about his teacher Socrates. One of the dialogues of Plato is called the Apology, and the apology is a Greek word. I don't know the exact word, but apologia probably in Greek, which means a defense. So the apology of Plato is Socrates' defense of himself in an Athenian court, in which he explains himself a little bit and makes a statement about why he was accused of, among other things, leading the youth of Athens astray with his teachings. And in the apology was the first thing I ever read, and I was blown away at the time. I was about 18 years old, and I thought, wow, this is the coolest thing, because among other things, what Socrates said was, the famous line, "All I know is I know nothing," right? And the Delphic Oracle. Why did the Delphic Oracle say that Socrates was the wisest? Because he knew that he did not know, right? And then Socrates went about using what's now called the Socratic method, which is to show people that what they thought they knew, they didn't really know, especially when it comes to ultimate things. When we talk about ultimate things, the ultimate questions, the existential questions of life, like why are we here? What happens after death? What is the purpose or the meaning of life? Is there a God? And if there is, what is God? And how can we understand a just God if God is just and loving? How can we understand that in light of all of the suffering in the world? And that's the problem of theodicy, which is theological, but also a philosophical problem. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up, is that Socrates, who, at least the Delphic Oracle, said that he was the wisest of that time because he knew that he did not know. And he went about showing people that what they thought they knew, they did not really know. And he did it through a process of questioning. And I think we would all do well, maybe not to use his exact method, but maybe so. But it's basically to ask questions and to start to recognize that all of our answers and all of our beliefs are open to question. And that we do not really know, although we might think we do, the answer to the ultimate questions of life. And we all have often hidden assumptions and suppositions that we retain. Even the most brilliant of us, we all have a bias. And that's why, there's a lot of, when we talk about intellectual honesty, that really comes into play with all of this. Intellectual honesty and personal honesty and integrity means that we sincerely and with some, you could say, humility, leave even our assumption, our most basic assumptions open to question. And that's scary, actually, because especially if you have an image, and most of us do. We have an identity and an image in the world, and usually we try to keep that image intact, because if that image were to not be there, we would be made a fool, right? Or we would think, be thought less of by others. So we have three basic positions, right? There's more than, you could say there's more, and there's a whole, what do you call it? A spectrum. But the three basic positions are theism, agnosticism, and atheism. Agnosticism, you could say, is in the middle, right? Theism is one extreme, in a way. Atheism is the other extreme. You got the left wing, the right wing, and the middle of the road, agnosticism. Now, some people look at the middle. Some people look at the middle as a good place, right? The middle ground. It's the place of balance. It's the place that is not on the extreme. That's one way of looking at the middle, which is where I'm saying agnosticism is. Other people look at the middle as you're on the fence. And it's not good to be on the fence, because then your balls are going to hurt. And and you're wishy-washy, right? You're not taking a firm stance. And in this world, if you look, for example, at the many of the videos that are out there in the discussion of philosophy and religion, especially religion, there's a lot of people calling themselves atheists, and then there's the theists. There's not a lot of people out there calling themselves agnostics that I've noticed. Right? I'm going to go on record right now saying that I feel that agnosticism is like Socrates, is the place to be, because ultimately we don't know anything. And if you think you do, I would say you've gone to an extreme. So that's my basic position, but now I'm trying to explain why are so many people calling themselves atheists or theists? Well, on one level, it's entertaining, right? And it's the way to make a living, and everyone has to make a living in this world, right? Because if you're an atheist, then you're in you could say in debate and conflict with others, and that's entertaining and that's interesting. And that does lead, in many ways, it actually leads to something positive, I think, which is to get clear about what the problems are and what the questions are, and to bring in valuable information that for people to think about. But the only thing is don't think that all of the debating is going to get anywhere, and ultimately I believe that all the words and all the talk can only go so far and only go so deep, and ultimately all of these things have to do with your own personal inward journey, and I would say even spiritual mystic journey, if you're open to that idea, and not everyone is. Now you may be thinking, well, that doesn't sound very agnostic of you, because now you're taking a firm stance. Not necessarily. I'm just saying that I think even to get to the point of understanding that you really don't know is part of that journey. Taking a position like I am an atheist or I am a theist, I think is it's understandable, but ultimately it is, I think, in the way of attaining true knowledge and wisdom. And again, I sound like I'm speaking categorically, but it would seem that, yeah. Let me put it this way: as an agnostic, I can absolutely see the value of all these positions, and I can see the value of taking a stance in one of these positions, just as I am doing right now with agnosticism. Agnosticism doesn't sell as well. Let's put it this way: agnosticism does not. People are not going to listen to an agnostic, and an agnostic. The downside of agnosticism is that an agnostic might not really get into the nuts and bolts and the nuances and the details of these things like an atheist or a theist would, right? An agnostic would be like, well, no one really knows, so why, you know, why waste, why kill so many brain cells, exhausting ourselves reading and thinking about these things when we really don't know. And maybe it's better to just be quiet and listen than to fill our brains with all of these thoughts and ideas. Maybe leave a little bit more space for something else to come through. I hope you see where I'm getting at. It's not easy to talk about, but ultimately I think it comes down to being open to the idea that you don't know, and that your personal frame of reference is not all there is, and there's many ways of seeing things, and no one has a monopoly on the truth, and no tradition has a monopoly, like atheists or theists. Even if you belong to a greater brotherhood, so to speak, or greater tribe, no one seems to have a monopoly. Agnostics could be wrong as well, right? Maybe being in the middle is not the right place to be. Like I was saying, you could look at it both ways. You could look at it as middle. Being in the middle is like you're stuck in the middle. You're on the fence, and you're wishy-washy, right? Or you could look at being in the middle as not going to an extreme, and being more balanced, and more and actually saying, I am not going to believe whatever until I know for sure. And if I don't know for sure, I'm not going to take a hard and fast position, but I'm going to be I'm going to really remain open, not to say I'm remaining open, but I'm going to really remain open to being shown the truth. And maybe that my thinking is off, and maybe that I do not know, more as much as I think I know. That's where, words again can only take us so far, because we could say with words, we can say with our lips, you might call it lip service, that we, yes, I am open to changing my beliefs or changing my thoughts, but are we really? And that's where the rubber meets the road. Are we really willing to go where I was going to say where the evidence takes us, but I don't know if evidence is even the right word, are we really willing to go to the place of really reassessing everything, and maybe being in the place of, I could be wrong, I could be really wrong about everything, and I want to remain open, and I want to stop holding so fast to beliefs that I'm not even so sure that they're true. So it's, what I'm really getting at is this place of openness, and even you could say surrender, and freedom, a freedom of being where you're not stuck on any one thing so much, and you're really open to new ideas and new ways of seeing things. And you can maybe even hold the idea that this person's way of seeing this, even though I cannot accept it at this moment, I can fully accept their acceptance, and I can really understand and even see the beauty of what they think and how they view things. So anyway, that's my little spiel today about my apology for agnosticism. I'm not sure if I did it justice. I might talk about this again at some point. I want to mention one other thing, which is that Greek, agnostic is a Greek word. Gnostic is a Greek word. Gnosis, it goes back to the Sanskrit, and maybe there's an older language as well. I don't know. The Indo-European language family. So in Sanskrit, jnana is the same, is like the root of gnosis. Jnana means knowledge. Ajnana is not knowing or not knowledge. And that's where agnostic, right? Not knowing. So the opposite of agnostic is Gnostic, right? Someone who knows. Atheist, the same word. Theist and atheist. Atheist is someone who does not believe in God, right? Eventually, I'm going to get into the Gnostic agnostic. That's probably what I'm going to call myself, and do a whole series on the Gnostic agnostic, the one who knows through direct experience, cannot prove it to anybody, but knows what they know, and maybe that's all that they need to know. And so can remain in that place of agnosticism, but also Gnosticism. And I'll say more about that in another video. Thanks for listening. Would love your comments. Please let me know if it made any sense. And thank you.